Nigeria TV.
D'annoncer la présence du juge en chef du Nigeria, Sa Seigneurie, la justice Kayode, Olu Kayode Ariwola. Son Excellence, soyez le bienvenu.
Distinguished guests, the fanfare we listened to a while ago heralded the arrival of the Chief Justice of Nigeria. You're welcome, Your Lordship. At this juncture, may I hand over to my co-compare, Captain Anebi Ababa.
Thank you very much, Flight Lieutenant Festus Ezenyi, for the commentary so far. Your Excellencies, most distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's still Dignitaries' arrival unfolding here at the Eagle Square, where activities climaxing the presidential inauguration and swearing-in ceremony between the outgoing president and the president-elect. Your Excellencies, visiting President, Your Excellencies, former President, His Lordship, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the Chief of the announcing the arrival of the Senate President and the Honorable Speaker, House of Representatives.
Mesdames et messieurs, l'honneur d'annoncer la présence du président du Sénat, Ahmed Lawal, et le président de la Chambre des représentants, son Excellence, Honorable Vanjabi Amila. Bienvenue, Excellence.
Went on. We've also seen the arrival of the Deputy President of the Senate, Ovie Omoagige. The Chief Justice of Nigeria also arrived while the military ceremonies went on. Well, there you see the Deputy Senate President and the National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress exchanging pleasantries there.
With the National Chairman of the APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu. And of course, right sitting beside him there is the Babangana Kingibe. Yeah.
Indeed, we've also seen the arrival of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, a very, very important aspect or part of this ceremony. He's going to be administering the oath of office, which will be taken much later today. We've also seen the arrival of the Chief of Defense Staff. He's also called the Chief of Chiefs, General Leo Irabo. I'm sure he'll be here in the company of the other chiefs, the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Naval Staff, the Chief of Defense Staff, and of course the Inspector General of Police. I imagine the court order, which we heard, has it been cleared?
So, I mean, the man has been doing his duties as the IG. He was here yesterday to inspect the grounds, and I guess that is playing that duty despite, I mean, I'm not sure the position of the court on that matter, but I understand that there was a court order. But we've seen the Inspector General of Police, like Mark mentioned. We've also seen the Chief of Defense Staff, which another title I've heard today. We'll keep learning. Chief of Chiefs, you call him.
Yeah.
Also.
And all of them being warmly welcomed by the Secretary to the government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa. He's certainly the one in charge of all of the arrangements we've seen being put together. Everything in terms of the arrangement being witnessed here in Eagle Square has been coordinated by the Office of the Secretary to the government of the Federation.
Also, I cited earlier the South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa, who was also received by the SGF. And of course, in line with the arrangement and the order of events here, we have seen up to the arrival of the Vice President-elect. And what we have not seen is the arrival of the President-elect, which in that order, arrival of the Chief Justice, arrival of the Speaker, arrival of former heads of state. I've seen former President Goodluck Jonathan arrive on the grounds today. Arrival of visiting president and delegation. We're seeing members of the diplomatic corps and some leaders across the globe. They also have arrived. Arrival of the visiting president and delegations, of course. Arrival of the Vice President-elect. We've seen Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima.
Yes.
But I'm not sure that the President-elect has arrived yet.
And you know, Sean, in these matters, protocol is extremely important.
Absolutely.
The order of arrival is deliberately done to show the importance of each person, and hierarchy in matter of things. So, so far so good. All of the arrivals which we've seen are in order. And we certainly
is the Senate President,
indeed,
Ahmed Lawan,
the third in command, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, is with him. So they're arriving in company of each other.
The chairman and the vice chairman of the National Assembly.
Indeed. So they're going to receive their salute.
Yeah. So that means very soon.
That's them standing on the podium.
Yes, indeed.
They're going to be saluted by the military.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is a significant event, and a lot of people might be asking the presence and the parade or the showing of Nigerian military all over the world, and this is a significant showing to show the strength, to show the organization of both the institutions of government, from military to political institutions in the country. And so you can see the synergy and how these entities are interwoven. So you can see the two heads of the different arms of the National Assembly, the green and the red chambers, the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila.
So very soon, we just might witness the arrival of the president and the president-elect, because I mean, haven't seen.
Well, indeed, the vice president will come in before the president,
yes.
And indeed, the president-elect is expected to have been seated before the president shows up. He is the last person who shows up, and then the event.
And as soon as he arrives, the
event
national
starts.
anthem, the event starts. The arrival of President Muhammadu Buhari signals that this event can commence. He is the chair of this event until the moment when the president-elect gets to the podium, takes his oath of office. In fact, we understand by protocol that the sitting president then has to leave immediately, because the chair in which, just look at it, significant mark where the chair in which President Buhari will be sitting will have the coat of arms on it, and as soon as Bola Tinubu, the president-elect, gets sworn in, that chair cannot be occupied again by President Buhari. It will be occupied by Bola Tinubu, and then President Buhari will have to leave the arena. That is how the protocol has been maintained over the years.
And that is, of course, what we expect to play out here today when that happens. So that will also be bringing you all of those. So when he does arrive, we will have the national anthem. Then the event kicks off with the opening prayers, the swearing of the vice president. The president-elect himself will also be sworn in by the Chief Justice of Nigeria. So all of those events will happen. You see the formal handing over of flags.
Chamberlain, that the vice president was a commissioner.
Looks like we're witnessing the arrival of the president-elect. Yes, indeed. The man of the moment is in the square, and you could hear the cheers from the crowd when he got in. The security men seem to be having quite a bit of challenge, ushering him in there. You can see them fighting somewhat to ensure that he has a smooth passage into that particular arena. Quite a bit of a scenario there, usually quite tough among the security
this
agencies.
kind of scenario, Mark, where we're seeing a few times that this has happened. We see uniformed men and men who are also security agents who are not in uniform. So there you go,
President-elect and his wife.
Absolutely.
Senator Oluremi Tinubu arriving together.
And again, the SGF also playing his role there, welcoming all of them as the chief host. Yes.
He's a man who is midwifing the transition. His office actually midwives transition process in the country. And I was going to mention to you, as soon as the president-elect arrives, the next person to arrive is a vice president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. And when we were talking about the man Bola Tinubu, we know that Professor Yemi Osinbajo served as the Attorney General under his government at the time. And so it's interesting, the twist of fate. I mean, our life, things happen, the turns and twists of life, where you have a city vice president who was a former commissioner under the president-elect. And now you see things are just churning, and this is how life is, isn't it?
That's what happens to those kind of offices. So the offices just naturally, they just take shape when whoever occupies all of those. So yes, as you highlighted, when after the vice president arrives, the president will arrive himself, and there you'll then have all the other activities kick on after the president does arrive. So all of those formal handing over of flags by the outgoing president, lowering, hoisting of national and defense flags for the armed forces, inspection of parade by presidents and the commander-in-chief, the march past in slow and quick time will also happen.
In fact, Chamberlain, based on the order of events, we are 2 minutes ahead of time. The president-elect is slated to arrive at 9:50 a.m. He had arrived earlier than scheduled. So this event, with what we're looking at, might just start very much on cue, right on time.
Well, that's the hope, Shewon. The hope also is that the president-elect will maintain that particular culture even as he becomes president. President Buhari, for all the criticisms that people will have for him, one thing you could not fault him for was being late to events. He was a stickler for time, and I think that designation, African time or Nigerian time, took on a new designation. Indeed, the arrival of the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, into the state box is also being witnessed right there on television. So we see the arrival of more heads of governments arrive in Nigeria for this auspicious occasion, the inauguration of the 16th president of Nigeria.
Well, you see Goodluck Jonathan, former president, also reaching out and welcoming some of the dignitaries. I remember he played an international role under this government, peacekeeping role in West Africa, in Africa generally. So he's met a lot of them several times. Even while he was president, Paul Kagame was still there. So that
there will be a lot of banter to be exchanged. I mean, plenty of backpatting and meeting up, catching up perhaps to do before the arrival of the president. We also see
Senator Godswill Akpabio as well there.
Well, probably big questions to ask as to whether or not he's going to make it. Will he be Senate President of the 10th Assembly? It's still unclear. Yes, but hey, he's arrived and he's heading straight to the state box.
And I'm assuming, and from what I'm saying, the Vice President might be arriving any moment from now. Some of the persons that I know that had walked around his office, I've seen quite a few of them right on the grounds right there on your screen. We might be seeing the arrival of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo.
Yeah, so if he does arrive now, he'll be, what, 5 minutes earlier than scheduled. So that was quite interesting.
It's interesting, actually. I mean, look, there are a lot of activities and events that have happened on the continent of Africa, and some of the heads of governments that have arrived today will definitely have a lot of things that they will remember themselves of, things that they've done together. And of course, you say a former governor of Borno State, Senator Ali Modu Sharif, who was the predecessor to the vice president-elect, Senator Kashim Shettima.
They have nicknames for some of these governors. They call him SAS.
SAS, yeah.
So there you go. So
all right, there you have it, Chamberlain. I said it.
It's like a German national arriving here.
Yeah.
So
yes, another head of Ghana. Looks like we're seeing the arrival of the president of Ghana. Perhaps another president right behind him, but we did say that a number of heads of government are arriving at this time. You will see them being welcomed. They're coming down from their vehicles. Some of them have come with their wives, and you will see the flags on their vehicles. And I know the very first one I saw in front was the flag of Ghana. So I imagine that will be the president of Ghana arriving at this moment.
Our brother country. Our sister country. Where you back, we have a very strong affinity here in terms of jollof rice and a lot of things that you might be able to remember. Ghana, definitely.
They're not so far from us anyways.
Absolutely.
So there you go. That is the Ghanaian president, Akufo-Addo, just coming in. Also,
Africa NG TV.